sound, back to the sound.
Alright, welcome back to the RootBSD Technology channel on YouTube. Here at the RootBSD channel, we love OpenBSD, FreeBSD, NetBSD, DragonflyBSD. We love GNU/Linux. We love it all, but unfortunately, you know, I love video games. I really do. And I love just the most expensive AAA games that I can get my hands on because I just got tons of money. So you know what? I give up. I don't want to do this OpenBSD stuff anymore. So I've installed Windows 10. That's right. Microsoft Windows 10. It's the greatest operating system ever. I've seen the light. I mean, look how fantastic this looks. Look how clean it is. I can play Candy Crush in 4K. I can do all the gaming in the Steam that I want. I got Microsoft Word and Microsoft Excel. I mean, this stuff's awesome. But you know what's the best part is now, check it out, you can use terminals in Windows. Bam! And I installed OpenBSD. That's right, Windows 10 now has OpenBSD. You can install it. In the command line, you just type do as package add OpenBSD. And you're good to go. I'm just kidding, this is OpenBSD. I would never install Windows, but I hope you like my Windows 10 fake rice. It's on XFCE4. I'll put a link in the description for where I got these icons. I just got them off GitHub, and it was easy. Like, the only command line thing I did is I just git cloned that into my icons folder, and then the rest I just did it with the mouse and the GUI. It was fun. Anyways, the topic of today's video is that we're going to discuss the differences between OpenBSD and Linux. A viewer asked, you know, they asked me if I use Slackware. I've never used Slackware before. I've used plenty of Ubuntu. I've used a little bit of Debian. I've used a lot of Arch and Manjaro, and I've used some Void Linux. So you know, I'm not the biggest Linux power user, but I've done some things in Linux. You know, I understand the concepts. So I'm gonna go over some of the things about OpenBSD that could be pretty obvious that are different from Linux, and I'm also just going to go over how really similar it is in a lot of ways, just, you know, hands-on using it from day to day, and you know, I hope this will be informative. And I made notes this time. We're going to follow some notes, so I'm not so scatterbrained and all over the place. And just a quick shout out to the music in the intro that you heard today. That was by a new artist that I like. His name is Thinkier? Okay, I hope I didn't mess that up, Thinkier, but Thinkier Station 2, this is no copyright sounds, and please check them out. They offer copyright-free music for content creators. And also, regarding the last episode, I said that I was waiting to be synced with Odyssey. Well, it turns out I didn't read the fine print. In order to sync your channel with Odyssey, you need at least 300 subscribers, but it's better to have 500 subscribers, because with that you can get videos that are over 30 minutes. And I think it's 1,000 subscribers if you want videos that are over an hour. So I'm thinking about, we'll just wait till we get to 1,000 subscribers, and then at that point I'll just make a whole new Odyssey account and we'll start from scratch and sync the channel. But until then, just want, you know, my viewers are asking me to make sure that I stay based at all times. So I am on PureTube. The PureTube instance that I'm on is ran by Splitshot Virus. He's pretty active in the Fediverse and also on Distrotoot. And he graciously let me use his PureTube instance. And I haven't fully uploaded all my videos yet, and doesn't have a full polish, but it is up. And I'll put a link in the description. The instance is called DankTube, and my username under there is DankRootBSD. So I will try to keep it really dank when we're on there. Okay, and with that, let's get to the brass tacks. Let's get to the show at hand. Alright. The differences between OpenBSD and Linux. OpenBSD primarily uses BSD and MIT licensed code. There is some GPL in the source tree too. So a lot of people gripe about that about BSD, is that we use a lot of the BSD and the MIT licensed code. And they rely heavily on the GPL to protect their source tree, and that's cool. And I totally I agree with Stallman. I agree with all his computer views, his technology views, that's about it when it comes to me and Stallman. But I agree with all his views, and I agree with his views on freedom and liberty. And you know, I like the Free Software Foundation. I like the Electronic Frontier Foundation. I like all those guys, and I like the GPL, and I like the BSD thing too. Because I have a different philosophy, and I'll talk about it more towards the end. I call it the Toolbox Philosophy. I just feel like, you know what, we have all this cool stuff at our disposal, let's just use it. Like, I don't understand why we have to get all these weird attitudes and go on these crusades online to just lambast and shoot down what other people are doing with free software or open source software. Like, we got to form into all these camps and flame wars in the comment section. I mean, you know what, a lot of it's just on Reddit. It's just some of these guys on Reddit, man. They wake up and they're weaned on a dill pickle, and they got a stick up their butt, and they just want to go to war with somebody online. You know, I'm not like that. I don't. You know, I find that very unproductive. I mean, you could be spending that time just, you know, the whatever you're so passionate about, you could be spending that time and energy getting better at it, and maybe why don't you improve it to make it better? Why don't you contribute to, you know, to whatever. If you're super into the free software movement and the GPL, you know, load up Triskel. Load up what's that other one that everyone loves? GNU Geeks. Load that up and start helping them out. Maintain packages. Host mirrors for their repos. You know, maybe if you can start committing some code. I'm saying, like, you know, all these people spend all this time just circle jerking on the internet when we could be working and getting stuff done. And I'm not saying that you guys are doing that. I'm just saying that there is this weird toxic element out there that does that. And you know, it's just stupid. And the reason I even bring it up is that because young people or people that are maybe they're new to the free and open source software movement, when they come to the movement, this is what they're first exposed to. You know, story time. You know, when I first looked up OpenBSD, because I first actually heard about OpenBSD and the BSDs in general, I heard about them on YouTube in a comment section. Somebody was just promoting them in a Luke Smith comment section, and I remember just being like, "Why would anybody want to use that? That sounds weird." And I looked up OpenBSD on Google, and the first like 5 search results were all just like blog articles, just people just saying the nastiest things. I even found this one blog where I swear the person who wrote it was just either the mega darkest troll ever or was just completely mad. But they were just saying the wildest things. Like they said that the FreeBSD. Okay, so they said that Theodorat, the founder of OpenBSD, was in a love triangle between the founder of FreeBSD and the founder of NetBSD, and they got jealous, and that's why they kicked him out of NetBSD. And just weird stuff like that, and it's just totally not true, and it's just made up baloney. And you gotta be careful, guys, when you're on the internet. There's a lot of made up junk out there, especially when it comes to free software and stuff that'll just kind of lead you wrong or give you the wrong impression. But that was a fun story. But yeah, so honestly, just use what tools are available and use what suits your needs the best. You know. Now, OpenBSD is not a distribution of the BSD kernel. It's an entire operating system with the kernel, userland, and utilities all compiled from the same source tree with the same hardened toolchain. Okay, so it's, you know, like with Linux, you have, you know, the Linux kernels being distributed to the different distributions, and then they're all different in the way their tool chains are set up, you know, the way their file systems are arranged, the package managers, the utilities, just the whole thing is a little different. Well, OpenBSD, the kernel and everything is all in one go. It's all compiled from the same source tree. It all lives in the same, you know, OpenBSD kingdom. Puffy has his little kingdom with all the base utilities. And let's see here. The source tree has been worked on for over 20 years and has had contributions from thousands of people worldwide. It has everything you need to run and administer a secure server. It really does. It's just out-the-box go server for an OpenBSD system. And a lot of people, that's one of the main reasons they love to use it. And it's one of those kind of servers where you can just set it up and you can go to sleep at night and not really worry about it. And you know, that's coming straight from the guy that he is one of the main authors of the PF firewall that you guys use in PF sense. So his name escapes me at the moment, but I am going to put together those playlists of talks with the developers and BSD CAN talks. I'm going to put it on my channel, so that's coming soon too. And you can see those interviews. And you're like, where do you get all your information from? I watch those videos. I watch the interviews with the developers, their talks. I've lurked and interact with them on Reddit. You go on the OpenBSD subreddit is actually ran by several of the developers of OpenBSD. Now, I don't recommend going on Reddit for anything else because Reddit is just a dumpster fire. But there's cool parts of Reddit. There's little pockets of neat people, of smart people. But let's see here. Okay, so also the OpenBSD can be set up for desktop use. The developers use OpenBSD as their daily drivers, so they do work at making it usable for the desktop. Okay, it's not just strictly for the server. So don't let anybody tell you that, oh, it's only for the server, that's only what the developers make it for. That's baloney, because they use OpenBSD as their daily drivers, as their main computers. They have it on their PCs and their laptops. They're using OpenBSD, and they may own an iPhone too and stuff like that. They're not. I notice a lot of them are not as militant as some of us can get about our free software, but a lot of them are tinkering on ARM computers and stuff like that, and they're just really smart people. And also, guys, if you're interested in OpenBSD and you want to use OpenBSD, just I really stress, just follow the developers, follow their documentation, follow their guides, and take their guides and their documentation at face value. Okay, don't try to always be deviating and looking up different alternatives and things on Google that other people are writing or doing, or maybe you're trying to invent your own way of doing something. You're just gonna end up really frustrating yourself. Just follow the masters, the guys that they know what they're doing. Those OpenBSD devs and the OpenBSD community, they know. Their documentation is great. And if something doesn't make sense, you just gotta ask somebody. Just ask, and don't give up so easily. A lot of this stuff, the learning curve is not that bad. It really requires you to kind of just commit a little time, a little energy, and just kind of use your noodle. It's big brain time, All right, so OpenBSD, it ships with its own fork of X called Xenokara. And Xenokara is a security-hardened form of X. It runs rootless, and I'm pretty sure that most Linux distributions have a rootless X. They have the most current version of X. I think there's a little bit some different things they do with privilege. Excuse me, I'm getting tongue-tied. Privilege separation in the code with the way that the X server interacts with the kernel. I know that there's something like that going on because I've heard him talk about it or read about it before. But so the reason I mention this is because sometimes with some with some Linuxes like Arch, you have to manually install Xorg, or Void Linux, you have to manually install Xorg. I think with Gen 2 and FreeBSD. So the cool thing is OpenBSD comes with X right out the gate. You don't need to bother installing it or compiling it on the side. There's no systemd. OpenBSD uses an RC script system, an old-fashioned RC init system, which is administered with RC control. It's very similar to Runit. Honestly, I feel like when I use OpenBSD's RC control, I feel like I'm using Runit in Void Linux, if that makes any sense. OpenBSD takes its manual pages very seriously. Read the frequently asked questions. Read the documentation. It's very important. That doesn't mean you can't look up things on Google, but it's kind of like not a good idea to look things up on Google. The information you'll find in the documentation is better. Now, I do understand when there are times when you open up some documentation, you look at. I've looked at some things in documentation. I read a sentence or a paragraph, and I just was like, "What?" It didn't make sense to me at all because maybe they're using terms or that you don't fully understand, or maybe they're just assuming that you already know a certain concept because maybe it was addressed a little bit earlier, but you skipped over that part. So you just got to keep that in mind. And sometimes it's best, sometimes what I use Google for is to look up terminology. So that's where I get tricked up. Sometimes they use so much shop talk, I don't understand the terminology that they're using. And that helps. That I do recommend. And don't use Google. Use DuckDuckGo or Cirx or something else. But, so there's no systemd. OpenBSD takes its come on, James. Let's not do this tonight. at the end of the day, you have a shell, you have X, and you have a package manager, and you can install window managers and desktop environments, and that it's really not any different from Linux in that respect. And we have all the different types of shells that you're used to, like the fish shell and the bash shell and the ZSH and those. And yeah, right here, it's most of the programs I think all the programs in base are POSIX Unix. It comes with SSH. OpenBSD founded SSH. We use LibreSSL, but the OpenSSL is the command you use in the command line. It comes with Acme client. You use cron tab and cron basically the same way. I think there's a little bit different like flags and features. Everything might be a little subtly different. That's why it's always good to look at the documentation and see what flags and options are different. But yeah, we have ifconfig and DH client. I know in Linux those are under net tools usually. I think you can use WPA supplicant, but honestly, I wouldn't recommend it. Ifconfig and DH client are so good. I don't understand why you would want to use anything else. But that's just my personal opinion. You could take that. You could take that with a grain of salt. But one of the things I did want to say that's different about OpenBSD than Linux or FreeBSD is there's actually less knobs to turn. It's not as customizable in terms of the actual operating system, and you can configure it in a lot of ways for like performance and things like that, and you can also tweak some of the network settings and stuff like that. I've been playing around with doing that a little bit, but actually, if you talk to devs, they generally tell you not to. They generally tell you not to touch any of that stuff for a good reason, and or some of the stuff might just be a placebo. So I think the best way to approach this is just that they said that they believe in their defaults, and they have it set up a certain way that it ships secure by default with sane defaults, and they don't want you going in there and just turning things off, turning off security features, trying to basically kind of morph it into something that it wasn't intended to be. So if you do want to do that, nobody's stopping you, but if you do want to do that, you're not going to get a lot of support in the community or from the devs. Unless you're doing something really serious and you really know what you're doing and you can back it up, like your C code and your version control and everything like in and out, then maybe, if you can show that it's useful and that it can be implemented in their system, and also you got to understand, OpenBSD is just a group of friends, and it's just a community, and those guys, if you might put some hard work into something, but they might not feel it's a good fit for OpenBSD, and they'll still reject it. So just keep that in mind. A lot of people want to go, the rockstar devs, they want to go in there blazing, saying I'm gonna do this and that, and I'm gonna port the OpenBSD kernel to the Linux user land, and usually you guys are gonna get laughed at because that stuff's ultra complicated. It takes teams of developers to even do something remotely close to that. And then you got to keep it going. You got to maintain that. You got to be able to follow upstream. And upstream changes quite rapidly. Actually, I want to give you guys a fun fact. There has never been a successful fork of OpenBSD that lasted for very long, or that was, sustainable in the long term. And I mean like a hard fork. There's some soft forks. I think you got that Fugulta, the live OpenBSD ISO. So we have the ports tree and the source tree readily available. And a Linux user might ask, well, what's the ports tree? Well, the ports tree is just a folder of make files, and it's all organized into categories of programs. And each program that's available for the system that can be downloaded as a package, we also give you the make file, and you can just compile that package. And mostly that's useful for you install the ports tree if you're trying to port a new program in. You need the ports tree set up to compile that. Or to compile it and make a package for it. Actually, you know what? I take that back. You probably also could just maybe do that from your own folder. Okay, that's probably not true. I don't know why I'm saying that. You need to do that if you're getting a folder from the work in progress ports tree. You want to make sure the ports tree is installed. If you're just writing your own software and you want to compile it and turn it into a package, there's nothing stopping you from doing that. Yeah, so like if you go to the games folder, the audio folder, or the multimedia folder, in each folder is all the programs that you can download through the package manager, but it's all their make files, so it'll build it manually for you. And you can also if there's something about a binary you downloaded that there's a flag that wasn't compiled into it, or there's a patch that you want to add into it, you can start patching things yourself. And if you want to go through all the hard work of doing that, you can. That's available. And the source tree is available too. It's mostly promoted for you to. The source tree is available for you to study it, to look at it, because according to Theo D. Rat, he says that we don't need to really be looking at computer books anymore. We need to look at the source tree. We need to look at the code to understand how the code interacts with the terrible hardware and plays this game with the garbage hardware, so the user doesn't see the battle that goes on in the background. That's basically the gist of it. The Reddit, like I said, there's the OpenBSD is good. The Daemon forum, there's the Daemon forums, IRC, mailing lists. So no different than Linux. You guys have your forums, your mailing lists, and we have the same thing. There's a community. It's just not we don't have like FreeBSD or Arch or Ubuntu. We don't have like an official forum website. So that would be your best bet. You either go on our OpenBSD, you go on Daemon forums, you go on IRC or the mailing list, or just reach out to the devs. They won't bite your hand off. Okay, some of them have lesser patience for like dumb questions or like low effort kind of questions, or people that come in with an attitude or making weird assumptions and stuff like that. So just be careful. Follow netiquette. Follow netiquette to make sure you know what you're talking about and you're asking something that's worth their time, because you're taking up their time. Their time is valuable. OpenBSD operates on a meritocracy. It's an old-fashioned add-on CVS. In fact, I believe they pioneered one of the first version control systems that kind of like what we take for granted today, what open source is doing with version control with Git and stuff like that. They pioneered it with add-on CVS. And they do, I don't really care about how other Linux development teams, other distros and whatnot, and projects, how they handle their development practices. I'm just going to tell you how OpenBSD operates a meritocracy. It's very old-fashioned. It's just like you submit your diffs in that nice little code format, and you go on the mailing list, and the best code wins. If your code's really good, if it fits, then they'll accept it. Maybe they might polish it a little bit, but they don't really care who you are or where you're from. They just want you to write good code, and they want the code to be secure and to be following the right standards and to be in the right format that they like. And they actually have, I'll bring it up really quick, they actually have a guide for, it's called Style. I think it's Style or Style? Style? Yep. The Kernel Source File Style Guide. I think so. Wait, is this the one? Is there space code that should be followed for all new code? No? It's stylus? No. Okay. Maybe I'll do a video about it, but I think this must be the one. They have a certain standard for how you do the styles with the code, and also when you submit, you got to know how to submit diffs and stuff like that. But let's hope I'm not getting too off track here. That's why I made this guide. Keep me on track. Okay, so it's a research operating system. So unlike Linux, Linux is more of a commercial operating system. It has a lot of vendors, and it has a lot of corporate sponsors and stuff like that. And OpenBSD, it does have corporate sponsors. It does get donations. The OpenBSD Foundation does survive on donations and sponsors and stuff like that. And there are companies that do donate to OpenBSD. But at the end of the day, it's a research operating system that is researching secure computing and their approach to secure computing. And they do implement new kind of strategies and new ideas that other operating systems aren't implementing, like Pledge and Unveil and some of the other stuff. We'll do a video on all OpenBSD security mitigations, and there's some good resources on that too. Let's see here. And the Toolbox Philosophy, just like anything, it's like, well, how would you stack up OpenBSD versus Linux, or Puffy versus Tux, or look, guys, they're not football teams. This isn't Manchester United versus whatever. This is the software stack for free and open source. The free and open source software stack is a giant toolbox. And you just go in there and just figure out what the best tool for you is. You just do your research, do your homework, play around, get a couple computers, and just start putting Linuxes and BSDs on them. And also start using all the utilities, or get on GitHub and start discovering new projects or whatever. Just make the software work for you, not the other way around. And the best tool for the job, if Linux is the best tool for your job, if systemd, good old Ubuntu systemd Linux is going to do the best job for you, then use it. If you think that OpenBSD is going to do a great job for you and it suits your needs and you like it, then use it. It doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, it's just all zeros and ones on a piece of silicone and electrons running through it. It's all it is, I mean, we take this stuff all too seriously. I think we need to spend all our time and energy learning it. And this channel is kind of like helping me to get more motivated, to learn more, to do more, to not just be living paycheck to paycheck with my day job. Okay, and so OpenBSD is a bit more aggressive and hardline with security than Linux is. It is secure by default, and sometimes with Linux, you have to do extra steps to secure things. And I'm not saying with all distributions, and there are some notably secure Linux distributions that are aimed, or their goal is at security and privacy, like Tails and Heads and Cubes OS and Wonix. Those are the ones off the top of my head I can think of, or Kali Linux, or Kali Linux is more of a pen testing tool, but but OpenBSD is secure by default. It has integrated cryptography in its network stack. In fact, you can't even export it out of the United States. They can't even have Americans work on their cryptography because of laws, because the Pentagon says that it's military grade encryption. So there you go, guys. You want to be cool, the cool kid on the block? See, my operating system has military grade encryption. It can't even be exported out of the United States. The Pentagon used it as a threat. That's right. Take that, Australia. Oh, I'm sorry, Australia. I'm sorry, you guys. I feel bad for you guys. I don't even know what. I hope you guys fight that tooth and nail. Just don't give up. Fight the good fight. No wine. No lib32 or binary compat layers. So unfortunately, because Wine still, I think at its core has a dependency on 32-bit libraries or 32-bit code somewhere in there. I know there's a 64-bit build of Wine, but I don't know. Leave a comment in the comment section. I don't think it's still truly 64-bit though. I'm not sure. It still has a dependency on the 32-bit libraries. I'm not sure. So that's the main reason why Wine, because OpenBSD will not do 32-bit on 64-bit at all. Libraries, compatibility layers, just they won't do it. And the main reason is just they believe that these compatibility layers, they become unmaintained and they code rot, and it can leave a little hole or room for disaster in their eyes, and they just don't want to even take the risk. And there's no binary compatibility layers. You can't run Linux binaries in OpenBSD. If you want to do that, use FreeBSD. Okay, and this is the most important thing, guys. The most important difference between Linux and OpenBSD users. Alright, you ready for this? Its users have kissed a girl before. Yes, us OpenBSD users have kissed a girl or girls before and held their hands. Sorry, Linux guys. We're rooting for you. Someday, you'll make it out of your mom's basement. I'm kidding. That was a joke. This is a total. Please don't take that seriously or get offended or look into that. That was just a complete. That's an old internet joke from a jab BSD users have at Linux users, and they have plenty of stuff to say about us. So, that's just humor, okay, guys. Humor is good. Laughter is medicine, and humor is good for the soul. All right. So I hope you liked my Windows 10 install of OpenBSD, and let's see if there's anything else I missed here. I've lost all my stuff. Oh, here we go. Oh yes, and we discussed my dang tube. Also, go on openbsd.org and check out their anon CVS if you want to look more into what the source tree and the ports tree is. And just if you're curious, check out openbsd.org. and check out their frequently asked questions and all their information. They also give you information on just what they are, the project goals, the hardware platforms, the security, and the crypto. So a lot of good stuff. All right, we're gonna wrap this up. I hope you guys learned something. I hope I addressed the differences between OpenBSD and Linux, which there's not that much differences, but there are some differences in the engineering and the in the development. But other than that, if you want to see what the differences are, just install OpenBSD on a cheap old laptop or a cheap old PC and just goof around, have fun, break something. All right, guys, have a great night, and that's all. Bye.